All right, good morning. It's Thursday, and you know what? I gotta say we got a total win this morning. The Democrats are on fire. Okay. When I say the Democrats are on fire, I'm not using the word fire in the kind of newspeak. Oh, that fire, dog. No. I'm not talking about a rap song where someone spits the hottest bars. No. I mean on fire as in a dumpster fire. There's some genuinely interesting stuff going on in the world right now. So, our loss of the 2020 election is a huge loss. I mean, devastating. Real quick, I've got Jeffrey. I've got Tim. Hey, what's up, cuz? And Rod is with us this morning. Good to see you. Billy Smith. Hello. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. And I gotta say, I appreciate the hell out of the increased numbers lately. We're up in subs. We've been up in viewership every morning. And it's good to see. Billy says, burn, baby, burn. Hell yeah. Abso-frickin-lutely. So, when I say the Democrat Party is on fire, as much as the 2020 election hurt, as much as having this country stolen away from us by the enemies of liberty and prosperity, by the merchants of death, by the cult of baby sacrifice that is the Democrat Party. We're only 2 months in to Joe Biden's administration, and the dumpster fire of this administration is so severe that, guess what? The Democrats that voted for Biden are regretting it enormously. Remember a few months ago, we did a video on the crime of offering active incentives for votes. There was a YouTube chick, she does, I don't remember her name and I don't really care, but she was one of those OnlyFans chicks. She had a YouTube channel, she had an OnlyFans page, and she did a deal where she told people that if they would send her a photograph of their ballot proving that they had voted for Joe Biden. She specifically said she wanted to see ballot evidence that they had voted for Joe Biden. And people were sending her photographs of their absentee ballots and mail-in ballots especially. And in exchange, she was sending them nude photos, right? She was sending them pornography of herself in exchange for these proofs that they had voted for Biden. Again, I don't remember her name, but it's irrelevant. She got thrown off of YouTube because that's not just dirty pool. That's a crime, right? We've seen some complaints out of the lefties lately about the bill that's going through the Georgia House and Senate right now, where part of the bill says you can't hand out food and water within 150 feet of a polling location. And they're it's so cruel. You're going to make these people wait in line for hours and hours and hours, and nice people can't just give them water? No, that's not the issue. The issue is, especially in Fulton County, there were food trucks parked at polling stations who were offering food to people who came out and proved that they had registered day of. Because day of registrations, as in people who don't plan ahead, as in the kinds of people who normally find themselves in deep poverty and needing the welfare handouts that the Democrats push, that were really after that $2,000 check that, again, the Democrats failed to follow through on, even though that was their promise. Those are the people that register the same day because they don't plan ahead, right? And we've got Ma has joined us. I've got Sean Stryker's joined us, Dave Bowen, and James. I already said good morning to you, didn't I? Jeffrey. Jeffrey already said good morning to you. James Royster's with us again. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. A damn crowd in the comments section already, and that's before the women even get on here. Oh, and hey, I've got that one guy on Periscope. You, yes, you, Mr. Periscope Man. Kudos for holding on to that ship as it sinks, but pop over to YouTube or Facebook and follow us there. Subscribe there so you stay with us and you don't lose us when Periscope goes down. Don't let the Periscope take you down with it, because it's on its way down. Twitter's about to cancel Periscope. So anyway, the problem wasn't. This is why the law now or will say soon, as part of election security reformation, that you can't have food trucks like that, because it's already a crime. It was already a crime to offer goods, to offer anything of value in exchange for a vote. It's illegal to buy votes. That's right. It is a crime in every state and under federal law to offer people money in exchange for their votes. Joe, just throwing that out there, Joe. Just, if seriously, every Democrat who has suggested, hey, if you vote for me, I'll forgive your college loan debt. I mean, look back to Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang literally said on the debate stage, guys, I'm offering you $1,000 a month to vote for me. Lock him up. That is a crime. To offer people money in exchange for their vote is a crime. Now, of course, in the case of Andrew Yang, he was offering you your money, or really, he was offering you everybody else's money. Andrew Yang said, you know what? I can take all the guns and go steal enough money from the 10% top earners to buy votes from the 90% of the bottom earners. And I bet if I offer that deal to the bottom 90%, that the bottom half of those will take it. That's the bet he made. Andrew Yang should be in prison for offering to purchase votes. That is a crime. Now, the fact that he kind of backstopped it with the old Democrat plan of laundering taxpayer dollars into Democrat political pockets. You look at for example Planned Parenthood, basically every labor union, and that list goes on. Name a left-wing politically active group, and they all get tax money subsidy, right? Planned Parenthood gets subsidy. They all get those subsidies. And then you start talking about the labor unions, they get, and they get to use certain relationships for preferential contract agreements, preferential contract negotiations. And then they make gigantic donations to the DNC. We hear them cry over and over again that they need this, especially people like Planned Parenthood. Oh, we need all this money from the government. We need all this tax money to support the good work that we're doing for women's rights and women's health and safety. And it's like, well, you could deal with your cash flow problems if you do a little budgeting, and maybe you can find some things in the budget that you don't need to spend money on. And then your budget will work better, and you'll have more money to do the things that you want to do with. And maybe, just maybe, one of those things that you don't need to spend money on is buying Democrat votes to get you more money. Right? If you still had all the money that you were dumping into getting Democrats elected for the sole purpose of getting more money into your pocket, then your cash flow problems would be at least alleviated, if not solved. So the only conclusion you can make there is that the purpose of that activity is to launder taxpayer money through these charities and back into the DNC. See, and as much as I've said in the past, I continue to vote Republican because the Republicans are slower. They fail slower. They ruin everything a little bit slower. See how I managed to dodge the F-bomb there? I'm going to try to do that for this whole episode. Who knows? Wish me luck. I'll take a little bit of that luck of the Irish that rubbed off yesterday. But if you look at conservative PACs, conservative groups like that, the NRA is a great example. They love to rail on the NRA. And if you remember after the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas high school shooting, it was trending, hashtag defund the NRA, defund the NRA. Like, guys, got a little wake-up call for you. We could defund Planned Parenthood because it is funded. You can't defund the NRA, not in the sense that you're thinking there, because the NRA isn't funded. The NRA is not funded by taxpayer dollars. It is entirely funded by the private contributions of its members. Think about that. I challenge you, and I don't mean to say that there are no, right? I'm not saying that there are no, but I cannot think of any off the top of my head conservative political action groups which are also taxpayer subsidized. I'm sure there must be one out there, but I dare you to list me a leftist political action group that is not taxpayer subsidized. I dare you. But yeah, there was a rallying cry on Twitter after, and you'll see it to a lesser extent after any mass shooting. Defund the NRA. Why are taxpayer dollars going to support these merchants of death? Blah blah blah. Because taxpayer dollars aren't going to support that. In fact, I dare say taxpayer dollars are not going to support anything that seeks to improve the liberty of individuals. Taxpayer dollars are not used to make you freer. Taxpayer dollars, the entire system of taxation, makes you a slave and then funds the forging of your chains. It goes to create programs on which you are actively forced to be reliant, or at least they try to force you to be reliant on these programs. Right? They make you debtor slaves, and I'll do a whole other show later on the pros of slavery, and that's you'll get a chuckle out of that. I'm not going to be talking about chattel slavery, right? We'll talk about slavery historically in various systems, which includes things like the apprenticeship program. And I'm not talking, and then I won't be talking about like, oh yeah, I'm going to give up half of my earnings to the union so that I can go and work to learn a trade. No. I'm talking about, hey, here's a master craftsman who needs help. He's got 3 hots and a cot for me. I'm going to go and live on 3 hots and a cot for a year or 2 while I learn the trade, and then I become his journeyman. As in, I go out to his clients to do the master's work, right? The journeyman is the guy like, okay, the farmer came and bought an iron gate from the blacksmith. The blacksmith made it in his forge, right? And then sends the journeyman out to install it or to repair it, right? That's an apprenticeship program. So as the apprentice, you have your 3 hots and a cot. You work, you learn the skills, you learn the trade. Then you become the journeyman, and the journeyman gets paid to go out and do the site work. But the master work is still done at the forge. That schema, that plan, that function works in every trade, 100%, without exception. That works. Right? I could do it as a filmmaker. I could send, in fact, I'd need another bedroom because I've got a shitload of kids and they take up a bunch of space. But I could have somebody live in the house, 3 hots and a cot, and their basic job at the beginning is, okay, one of my journeymen went out and shot a wedding, or 3 of my journeymen went out and shot a wedding. So here's the wedding. Here's all the footage on SD cards, and your job until you get some more training, your basic job is to handle the admin on that. I need you to copy all those files into a folder, sort them by theme, by time, and etc. And I need you to do the cataloging on that. And you get to eat 3 times today. And then he's sitting right here, not working, but watching me work as I edit that footage. Right? Then we get a new camera in. We got to go do camera tests. I take his ass upstairs. I'm half-assed doing this with some of my guys already. I wish Zaluska the Slav was in here because he's been over here several times recently, just to hang out and play with cameras, so that I can say, yeah, this is how you operate the focus. This is how you operate the zoom. This is what auto exposure bracketing means. Let's talk about artistic framing. Let's talk about creative frame composition. Let's do this, and this, right? And I mean, guys like Zaluska the Slav, Cameron Anderson, Patrick Brown, hell, even Steve Rodemeyer to an extent Steve's worked on a few sets with me, and it's like Steve's smarter on sound design and sound engineering than I am. Plus his ears work. If you remember yesterday, I made fun of Steve a little bit about being blind in one eye. I'm deaf in both ears. So we make a hell of a pair. But all of those guys have worked with me on sets, and quite separately from actual professional sets, I've taken them through the gear. It's like, okay, this is the camera. This is where the SD card goes. Let's talk about how you operate. Let's talk about all the little these-its and those-its that are tricky. And, so like, Cameron's been doing it with me for 3 years almost. So Cameron has been training with me so far as, hey, here's 4 identical cameras, and we're all going to dig deep. We're going to dig deep into the four identical cameras. We're going to go through the settings menus, and we're going to set these 4 cameras up to be the same, but we're going to talk about each one of the settings and what it means. Yeah, I'm way the hell off on a tangent, but I don't have a camera in here to reel me back in. So I guess I am talking about my plan for modern slavery now. But that's a thing that we should be doing. In ancient Greece, there was a system of slavery, but slaves were not bought and sold as chattel. Chattels, I mean, to an extent, they were traded and bartered as gifts, but the way the slave system worked there, it was the welfare system. You had people that were landowners, and they would have a separate home or a barracks built on that land, and people who could not get employed, the people that would otherwise be the wards of the state, like our welfare state today, would go and seek one of these landowners, and for 3 hots and a cot, they would work the land, they would clean the house, they would do the manual labor on the farm, or they would do the manual labor on whatever kind of business that landowner operated. And in that system, you could earn and buy your way out. You could use that as your That was your safety net so that you could build a life. Twice in the hundreds of years of that happening, there were two kings or emperors who began as slaves and worked their way up to be elected to the highest leadership position in that land. Yeah, Sean, you're talking about Plato/Socrates and the community-owned children in the Republic. That is a very different thing than what I'm talking about. And please believe that is one of the reasons I own guns. Hillary Clinton and the "it takes a village" bullshit, nonsense. You don't get to raise my children. You don't get to tell them what their religion is. You don't get to tell them how they feel about firearms. You don't get to tell them that they need to cut their genitalia off. You don't get to raise my children, Hillary. Come at me. Rod, NHP, what is that? The non-hedonistic principle? Everything is grounded in real estate. I don't disagree with that. Okay, let me try to bring this back around to the topic, because I actually have some articles pulled up. Oh, see, Rod, I wouldn't have guessed that because I've only ever known your dad as Mr. Hank. So HP I might have gotten, but I didn't know that Hank was his middle name. It's literally the birth of socialism/fascism, the way I've read it so far. So, Sean, are you currently reading The Republic for the first time? Newton Hansel. Wow. That's a hell of a name. Well, Sean, then maybe we should have a conversation sometime on another show about the Republic. Okay. Let me dig into the articles and talk about what's going on with the Democrat Party and why we're trying to find silver linings in the 2020 loss. Okay. So in trying to find some silver linings in the 2020 loss, remember every Republican that ran for re-election in the general last year won. The Democrats control the House and the Senate now, but they only control the Senate because they have the tiebreaker vote in Kamala Harris. They only control the House by 7 or 8 votes. It's a very thin margin. And the dumpster fire that we're already seeing coming out of the DNC, guys, 2022, the midterm election next year, which we are gearing up for already, make no mistake, is going to be a red wave bloodbath. But only if conservatives show up to vote. Now, let's not get confused. That there was fraud in the election is unquestionable. That is not to say that I'm making a claim that the election results were altered by fraud, but fraud occurs in every election. That's just an interesting fact. But if we look at what happened with Warnock and Ossoff, we just didn't show up. I mean, I showed up. I went and voted in person, and then I was a poll watcher on the day of, and I was an observer for the recounts. I did what I could do, guys. I tried, damn it. But people didn't show up. And I've talked about that on the show before a few times. We had Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood. And Sidney Powell, to a lesser extent, she didn't really push the narrative as much. But Lynn Wood really hammered this idea that he made the claims that the election was stolen and that they're going to steal the next one, and that for that reason, you should stay home and not vote as a form of protest. If you think that not doing something is a way to win a competition, elections are not golf. Elections are not golf. You've got to show up and vote. Even if you have zero faith, even if you have legitimate reason to have zero faith in the security and the fairness of the election, if you don't vote, you're guaranteed to lose. What if you are dead certain that your vote won't count when you go and vote? If you are dead certain that your vote will not count when you go and vote, let me tell you something. There's a chance you could be wrong. But if you decide that your vote won't count and then for that reason you choose not to vote, you will be 100% correct. Your vote will not count if you do not cast it. So, I guess I've preambled enough on teasing an article that I haven't even mentioned yet in the show, and I apologize for that. But you know what? My shit was fascinating this morning. You're welcome. Here we go. Sara Silverman, I don't want to be associated with the Democrat Party anymore. Now, there she is. Doesn't she just look... God. You know, Silverman is one of those rare creatures. She's a leftist comedian that's occasionally funny. But it says in a recent podcast, she said she's had it with the absolutistness of the Democrat Party and no longer wants to be associated with it. It's the absolutistness of the party I'm in that is such a turnoff to me. It's so effing elitist, you know, for something called progressives. It allows for zero progress. That... She says that like it's a revelation. She says that like it's an insight. Sarah, nobody with a reading level above 5th year is surprised that the party of progressives is opposed to progress. Okay? The Progressive Party is currently attempting to reinstitute segregation. The Progressive Party named a law, the Affordable Care and Patient Protection Act. They called it the Health Care Bill. It had nothing to do with health care and increased your health care your health insurance premiums by more than 400% on average. Okay? You're also talking about, and in fairness, this lies on the Republicans as much as, if not more so, the but people that voted for the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act, which sought to dismantle our liberties and our Constitution, right? You're talking about people who oppose free speech, who oppose the free practice of religion, who are pro-censorship, oppose the freedom of the press, oppose the right to keep and bear arms. You're talking about the party that voted against the Civil Rights Act, right? The act that reinforced the guarantees of civil liberties to everyone without concern for their health, for their skin color, without concern for their ethnicity or origin. And those people call themselves liberals. You're talking about the Democrat Party, who is opposed to the democratic process. It always aggravates me when I hear people refer to them as the Democratic Party, or the Democratic senator from so-and-so, the Democratic Joe Biden administration. What the hell is democratic? You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. So you have to understand. Oh, they just sent out stimulus checks. Now, in fairness, stimulus checks went out under Donald Trump, and I was against them as well. But they just sent out stimulus checks. Stimulus checks, a stimulus bill, the stimulus bill, stimulus, a $1.9 trillion money printing scheme that will cause mass inflation. How stimulated are you going to be economically when the value of your buying instrument is reduced by more than half? 20 years ago, a carton of cigarette cost $20. Today, it's almost 4 times that. The price didn't go up. The value of the dollar went down. Think about what that means for gas prices compared between Trump, Obama, and Biden. Right? Remember when Obama was in office and gas was $4.50, $5 a gallon? And then it suddenly got so much cheaper under Trump. Gas went down to early 2000s prices under Donald Trump. But if you looked at other prices, those prices were higher. What was achieved under Donald Trump with energy independence, reducing gas to prices lower than the comparable prices of the much more powerful early 2000s dollar against the 2016 to 2020 dollar, that the numbers, the math there should blow your freaking mind. Amazing. So Sara Silverman decided she's quitting the party. And I mention her because this is a woman that was involved in massive get out the vote campaigns where she literally appeared nude. And we said it when we talked about that campaign too. She's a good looking girl, right? She's got a nice pair of breasts. She's got okay, the years are starting to catch up with her, but she has a fit and symmetrical face. She's an objectively attractive woman. And in all fairness, she looks pretty good for how old she is. I think she's got to be creeping up on 50, if not just over it by now. But she was actively engaged in get out the vote to get Biden elected. And now she's leaving. She's leaving the party. Then you've got the Nevada Democratic Party staffers quit over new socialist leadership. To be clear, we'll read the article. So the whole staff of the Nevada Democrat Party quit after a slate of Democratic Socialist candidates won every seat in the party's leadership on Saturday, according to a report. Okay, what they're talking about here is actually the Democrat version, and there they did, Democratic Socialists. What the hell is democratic about socialism? Socialism is, here's a government, they have all the guns, so they get to take all your shit, and then they get to tell you how much of your stuff you get to get back. No. Y'all can just have that. Rod says she fitty. But, okay, so the whole staff of the Nevada Democrat Party quit after a slate of Democratic Socialist candidates won every seat in the party's leadership on Saturday, according to a report. Let me tell you what's happening there. This Saturday, I'm going to be attending the Republican version of the same thing, right? It's not the party convention yet. It's the party caucus to elect electors and all that, and begin the process of party elections for party leadership, right? And I got to tell you, I had a conversation with David Schaefer a couple of nights ago. He's the chairman of the Georgia GOP. I like him. I think he's rock solid. I won't fanboy over him too much, but he made a very good impression on me Monday afternoon, Monday evening at the Madison, Georgia party meeting. He was sharp. He knew his numbers. He brought receipts, and he was ready to answer questions. And he didn't back down when I hit him with hard questions. If y'all haven't gone and checked out that video on Rumble, at least go and watch the last 10 minutes of it where he and I have our little back and forth. Unfortunately, I can't publish that here. I might go back to it and cut out that last little bit and publish it separately on all the alternative spots, but again, YouTube rules, I can't put it here, especially while I'm already under one warning flag. Sean Stryker asks, is normal go time for you 4 a.m.? I have kind of a... I'm usually up by 4, yes. I'm usually up by 4, if not earlier. That's Eastern Standard Time. That'd be GMT -4 now, because we fell back. Wait, we fall back or we sprung forward? We sprung forward. Which, yeah, so we just went from GMT -5 to GMT -4. So that'd be midnight Zulu. Roger that. So anyway, I'll be going to the Republican version of this where we caucus for the party membership, the party leadership. And that's what happened here is the Democrat Party in Nevada had their party leadership caucuses, and every seat was taken by a Democratic Socialist. And then the staff quit. That tells me that the Democrat Party, and we know this, we've already seen this, but this is just more evidence to that effect. The Democrat Party is fractured. What you basically see in the Democrat Party, the Democratic Socialist is the libertarian of the Democrat Party. And I don't mean to say that they compare morally or that they compare on or that they're comparable on positions and policy. I mean that more like this. We see in the Republican Party, we see libertarians run as Republicans because the Libertarian Party is not politically competitive or viable in most places, right? So unless you're talking about one of the nonpartisan elections, which we pretend to have in Georgia, Libertarians run as Republicans because the Republican Party is a larger platform and more viable for them to actually get some elections and win some seats. And that's fine. Bring them on. I like a Rand Paul. Those kind of guys. They're solid. They're not perfect. They're not quite what I'm looking for, but they're solid. But that's what's happening there is the Democratic Socialists are taking over the party. What was it, 2012? No, the 2010, the 2010 midterms, where there was a libertarian wave. That it was a bloodbath in the Senate and the House, with libertarians taking over Republican and Democrat seats, and just an absolute bloodbath. I can only hope. But interestingly, I think the Democratic Socialists are having more success in the Democrat Party than the Libertarians ever had in the Republican Party. And I think it's good that the Libertarians never enjoyed this level of success in the Republican Party for exactly the reasons that I believe this is going to work in our favor with the Dem Sox rising in the Democrat Party. If the 2010 bloodbath had been much more severe in the direction of the Libertarian Party, I think we would have run the risk of having the party fractured in a very dangerous tactical way, and we didn't. Thank gods. I think we're about to see a lot of Democrats going into next year's midterm elections just give up. We're going to see a lot of older Democrats give up. Because, I'll tell you something, if you're a 50-year-old plus Democrat voter who keeps voting Democrat because of my Social Security, right? Like, I was pretty well convinced that Social Security was not going to be around when I hit the age that I'm going to be collecting Social Security. Wow. I'm having a hard word saying Social Security. I don't usually get tongue-tied like that. Social Security. But I was already pretty convinced that the SS would not be around by the time I hit the age of collection. With the raft of spending that we're being saddled with now, I'm doubly convinced of that. But if you're in your 50s and above and you're voting for Democrats because of social programs, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, et cetera, you now have to accept that you are voting for Cardi B and WAP on the Grammys or the Emmys or whatever to be the cultural replacement for Dr. Seuss and Pepe Le Pew and Speedy Gonzales. You have to accept that normalized pedophilia in the commander-in-chief is what you are voting for as an alternative to liberty, prosperity, and just America. If you're 50 years or older and you can and you're looking at the ticket that you're voting on might as well say, these are the words that you're not allowed to say on television. That's it. That's it. You're voting for vulgarity, infanticide, foreign wars, eternal social programs, and the absolute devaluation of the American dollar. And you make me sad. I've got more. I could probably keep going. It looks like I'm starting to have people peel off. Oh, well, Steve quit and I got 2 more viewers pop on. Hey, guys, welcome to the show. Let me take a peek over here and see what our numbers look like. That's amazing. That's amazing. I got multiple viewers on multiple channels. Thank you so much for turning out to watch this show, guys. Leave me some comments below. Not in the chat here. Actually, after the show publishes as a standalone show on YouTube, leave comments in the comments section. And specifically after this episode, I want to know, what do you think about the idea of instituting actual apprenticeship programs where a master mechanic, a master tradesman is able to have a spare room or a guest bedroom type deal in his home or in his shop and go three hots at a cot in order, as the only compensation for an unskilled assistant to become an apprentice to learn trades, so that apprentice doesn't cost the master more money than he's worth. Drop your ideas on how we spread the message and get people to understand you must vote even if you have no faith in the process, because not voting is quitting. I believe my vote doesn't count, but I vote anyway. There's still a chance that I'm wrong and my vote counts. But sounds like pro wrestling / lucha libre training on trade guilds. Oh. So, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Leave me a comment in the comment section, and I will see you tomorrow. And tomorrow is Firearms Friday. Y'all be safe. Take care.